A new book by author Michael Wolff is chock full of some pretty salacious behind the scenes stories that allegedly took place over at Fox News. And while honestly, I'm skeptical about some of the allegations here, I think it's worth at least discussing them. So the Daily Beast got a sneak peek, an advanced copy, if you will, of the book. It's titled The Fall, The End of Fox News and the Murdoch Dynasty. Now Murdoch seems to be doing pretty well, right? So while Fox News definitely got hit with that defamation suit, it's still on the air. But nonetheless, let's give you the details on what he revealed in the book. So we'll tell you ahead of time that people have already basically challenged the veracity of some of his claims, and Wolff's past books also dealt with similar treatment. But Wolff claims that all the principal characters were contacted for comment ahead of publishing. The book covers drama including Fox handling of the Dominion defamation lawsuit over its 2020 election lies, its post-election fights with Donald Trump, its firing of Tucker Carlson, and also the Murdoch family's turmoil. And let's get into it. Let's get into some of the juicy accounts here. So during one of the chapters, Wolff writes that prior to being fired from his primetime spot, Tucker Carlson considered a run for president in order to escape from Fox News's contract. Now, Wolff alleged stories about Tucker, and they get crazier, including this. With Fox urging its stars to be open-minded about Ron DeSantis, then Murdoch's favored candidate for 2024. Wolff writes, Carlson and his wife Susie welcomed DeSantis and his wife Casey to their Florida home for lunch. Despite hoping to impress Carlson, arguably a top GOP kingmaker, the presidential hopeful and Trump rival failed the Susie Carlson test during the visit, Wolff claims. Okay, so what does that mean? What is the Susie Carlson test? Let me just say, women do be running things, okay? Even when you guys think you're running things, women do be running things. But nonetheless, the DeSantis couple allegedly failed to read the room, especially with Carlson's wife, a genteel, stay-at-home woman here in her own house, Wolff writes. For 2 hours, Ron DeSantis sat at her table talking in an outdoor voice, indoors, I totally believe that, failing to observe any basics of conversation ritual or propriety, not sure what that means, reeling off in an unself-conscious list of his programs and initiatives and political accomplishments. So look, it doesn't shock me that he has trouble reading the room. He is a little socially awkward, but I don't really know, like, what does a conversation ritual or propriety mean? Like, what does that mean exactly?
I think that what I got out of it was you go and first you talk about your kids, you talk about football, whatever. You're having a normal human conversation, and then you slip in, oh yeah, like we did this in Florida and we did that, right? That's normal propriety, right? You don't go into someone's house for dinner and come in and go, do you know what I did in Florida? We reduced the budget by 17.3%. It's like, all right, brother, all right, take it easy, right? He just does, look, when
But you know what, sorry to interrupt you, but you know what, I kind of, listen, we all know what this dinner's about, okay?
Yeah.
And I kind of, even though I think it's because he's socially awkward, I do respect the fact that DeSantis is like, listen, I'm not really interested in, we're not friends, okay? You're the Republican kingmaker. I'm here to tell you why you should support me and promote me. So let me talk about everything I've done. Like, I kind of respect that, right? Like the game, that little game. I don't like the game. That's why I don't do the game. I don't do the network. I do not do the game. Okay.
Anna's good at a lot of things. The game is not one of them.
No.
Okay? She's gonna get straight to the point. She's gonna come inside your house and go, this is what I did with the budget.
No, I'm not even gonna show up to the dinner. That's the problem. That's why I'm not a politician.
For sure. Look, Michael Wolff's problem is that he's been caught a couple of times on things that were not corroborated, right? But he has done a lot of things that were corroborated. So it's not like, oh, it's all trash, otherwise we wouldn't tell you, right? That's the problem though, when you get caught on some things that don't pan out, then we don't not just believe 12% of what you wrote, we have trouble believing 100% of what you wrote.
True, yeah.
So he's the boy who cried wolf, if you will. I'm here all week, kind of. Actually, I'm going to New York, coming to my book reading.
Oh my God. ahead.
tyt.com/events. Buy the book at tyt.com/justice. Okay. Seriously. Okay, but with Wolf, so here's how I read him. Like I asked Noam Chomsky, how do you read mainstream media when you're the best critic of mainstream media and know that they are trying to deceive you in a lot of ways? And he says, you just look for the facts, you ignore all the context, you look at what they're omitting, etc. He gave like a guidebook on how to do it. And in this case, when I read Wolf, I think, what is corroborated by other things that we know about that person? And that makes it more likely. Like the outdoor voice inside a dinner and awkward, that tracks, right? The kicking the dog, like, nah, I don't know.
Wait, we haven't told them about the kicking of the dog yet.
I know, we buried the lead, go ahead. Let alone who Hannity's apparently sleeping with, interesting.
So apparently during the dinner, there's an allegation that DeSantis was not kind to the Carlson family pet, okay? DeSantis pushed the dog under the table. Had he kicked the dog? Susie Carlson's judgment was clear. She did not ever want to be anywhere near anybody like that ever again. By the way, if this story is actually true, I'm 1000% with Susie Carlson. No, nobody puts Charlie in a corner. Okay, no.
That would be a mistake that you could never recover from. Like if you mess with Charlie, Anna's true love. I mean, of course, there are other loves, parents and husband and all that.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay. Yeah. But you mess with Charlie, you are not going to get that endorsement. It's not even going to be close. She's going to send money to your opponent.
Yes, 1000%. But let me continue with the rest of the allegation here. So she would never want to see him again. Her husband agreed. DeSantis, in Carlson's view, was a fascist. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe this. I can't. How are you gonna?
No.
The idea that Carlson is gonna think of DeSantis as a fascist for allegedly pushing the dog.
It doesn't track.
It doesn't.
If he said that, it'd be really weird. Like him saying racist stuff, not really weird, right?
Yeah.
Calling someone else fascist. Yeah, I'd be really surprised by that.
Both DeSantis and Tucker Carlson have said that this story is inaccurate, that this didn't happen.
But they would say that no matter what. So that doesn't tell you much.
Maybe.
Sometimes it tells you when they don't respond. In fact, in one of the sections here, they talk about how Jerry Hall, right, the former wife of Rupert Murdoch, yelled at him at one point about being a homophobe and told other guests, like, ignore him, he's just old. And when they asked her, that's his ex-wife, and when they asked her for comment, no comment. That means that's probably true.
All right, so let's skip ahead right now because I want to get to how Murdoch allegedly feels about Hannity. I was highly amused by this. Again, I don't know if there's actual credibility to this story, but I want to believe it's true because it's hilarious. So the Murdochs' alleged feelings toward Sean Hannity is also featured pretty heavily in the book. And so throughout the book, a recurring motif is that Fox News star and Trump confidant Sean Hannity is viewed within Murdoch circles as a moron. Just like straight to the point. Straight to the point. At one point, Wolf alleges Rupert Murdoch called Hannity the R-word slur.
Tracks.
Yeah, that definitely tracks. So when Murdoch brought reports of Hannity's on and off-air defense of Fox's post-election coverage, he perhaps seemed to justify his anchor. And then he uses the slur, like most Americans. Wolf writes in one chapter that notes how Hannity had pushed Fox to stick by Trump. And so before Murdoch fired Carlson, this is amazing. As Fox was facing Dominion's defamation lawsuit, Rupert Murdoch apparently considered axing Hannity as a way of giving Dominion like a sacrificial lamb, right? So he was actually considering firing Hannity before firing Tucker Carlson. As a way to justify the hypothetical firing, Wolf adds, Lachlan Murdoch proposed citing the host's previously secret romantic relationship with Fox and Friends co-host Ainsley Earhart.
Jerome.
Using ex-CNN CEO Jeff Zucker's firing as precedent.
You know, how many times have I said, hey, look, Lots of sexual harassment going on at Fox News, but you never hear anything about Sean Hannity. So apparently he's the one guy that at least doesn't do that. Now we don't know that that's sexual harassment. That could be totally consensual.
Yeah, it appears to be a consensual relationship. Right. And look, they both were divorced at the time.
Look, that's totally up to them.
They're both hosts as well, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing that made the Jeff Zucker situation shaky was that he was the head of CNN and the person he was having a relationship with worked under him. So, it was, I mean, she was also, in a high role within CNN, but there was still a power dynamic issue, whatever. So,
yeah. So look, in this case, it's more similar to the ABC story. The two anchors were having a consensual relationship after they got divorced and they got fired for no goddamn reason. That was a sexual harassment, 100% consensual. Neither one reported the other one, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not trying to bust Hannity's chops on it, but it turns out he was also dating someone in the building, right? That's a very common thing. You remember the story about Jesse Waters and how he let the air out of the tires of someone that was working for him.
Producer's tires.
Yeah, producer, and then eventually married her and divorced his wife, et cetera. So that stuff tracks. That's happening for sure. Now, in terms of Murdoch calling Hannity a moron and worse, that also tracks. That tracks in two different ways. One, I don't know if you know the Succession 100% based on Rupert Murdoch and Fox News. And they took real stories, and some of the stories in Wolf's book are like straight out of Succession. And so they have great disdain for the hosts, they think. But to me, the most damning part was, if this is true, this is the worst of all. Murdoch said that Hannity was a moron like the average American. Oof.
Yeah. Like most Americans, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Graphic 7 real quick.
Yeah.
So he perhaps seemed to justify his anchor. He's the R word, like most Americans, Wolf writes in one chapter that notes how Hannity had pushed Fox to stick by Trump.
So Murdoch's a right winger, and so that's part of why Fox News is right wing. But the other reason is Murdoch's just a businessman, and he thinks, I'm gonna go find suckers, I'm gonna tell them what they wanna hear, and then they're gonna give me money. And so he views his audience not as someone he's serving, but people that are serving him. And he's gonna get rich off of them because he thinks they're the R word.
Okay, but right? I have a real problem with viewing Americans, like most Americans, as morons. And the reason why I have a problem with that, especially coming from a piece of crap like Rupert Murdoch, is prior to Fox News, prior to what Rupert Murdoch did with Fox News in America, Americans trusted the media, relatively speaking. When they watched the news, they thought they were getting accurate information. So here's this piece of garbage intentionally misinforming them through politically charged, his politically charged agenda. And then he turns around and laughs at them for being suckers, for trusting the garbage that he's having his host spew.
Yep.
No, F off. Seriously, F off.
This is the problem with Fox News. They don't mean it. They have more disdain for their own viewers than they have of anyone else, of Democrats, of anyone else. And to me, even though I don't agree with their viewers, it's more stomach churning to hear that.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.